So, in Java, the math class is a class that doesn't have any objects. It's part of built in Java, so it's available in every Java program, and it just contains useful mathematical functions. And there are a great many functions. There are 5 functions that you could encounter in on the AP exam that you'll need to know specifically. And so those are the ones that are in the documentation and are part of the subset. But there are a great many other um, methods in the math class, and I'll mention just a couple of them at the end of the video. So let's start with absolute value. Pretty straightforward. Let's say int x equals 5, int y equals negative 11.8, right? Then we can say int a equals math dot absolute value of 5, or sorry, of x. We actually could put 5 in there as well. Then a will be of a value of 5. If we have a equals math dot absolute value of y, well, what's the absolute value of negative 11 point, sorry, that can't be negative 11.8. These are integers. So we'll make this negative 11. A equals math dot absolute value of y. The absolute value of negative 11 is 11, so a has a value of 11. Let me just be consistent with other videos. If we say now x equals math dot absolute value of negative 234, that will make x equal to positive 234. Then there is the double absolute value method, which basically does the same thing. Here's where y is equal to negative 11.8. And then we say double a equals math dot absolute value of 5. A equals math dot absolute value of y. A equals math dot absolute value of x. Well, in this case, here, a will be 5.0. Here, a will be positive 11.8. And here, a will be 5.0. So why do we need to have two different methods, one for doubles and one for ints? It's simply because sometimes we'll want to get the absolute value of an integer, so it needs to be an integer in, integer out, and sometimes you'll want the absolute value of a double, a decimal number, so it needs to have a double input, double out. You can put an integer into the, like you could say, as we said here, right? Double a equals math dot absolute value of 5. Well, that 5 gets treated as a double inside there, so it'll work. But you couldn't say the like down here, you couldn't have math dot absolute value of y when y is a double be assigned to an int, just because of the way Java keeps track of the variable types. So now let's take a look at the power method. Math.pow is how you do exponents. You know, in some languages you can do like 3 caret 4, and this means 3 to the 4th, which is 81. Java doesn't have a caret symbol for exponents. So in Java, if we want to do 3 to the 4th, we say double x equals math.pow base of 3 exponent of 4. So x equals 3 to the 4th, which is equal to 81, as we said. If I do math.pow of 5, 0, well, x is equal to 5 to the 0, which is 1. Actually, this should be 0.0 because they're all decimal numbers. If I say double z equals math.pow of y comma x, well, now x is 1. So z is going to be y, the base, to the first power, so 7.5 to the first, or 7.5. And that's basically it. That's exponents. Next is SQRT, square root. So we have math.sqrt, so we could say double x equals math.sqrt of 25. Which will make x equal to 5. We could have x equals math.sqrt of 6.25. Which will give us x of 2.5. So basically, square roots. You should be aware that this is returning only the positive square root of that double. So you're not getting plus or minus when you do it. Like 25 won't give you plus or minus 5. It's just going to give you positive square root. And finally, we've got math.random. Math.random gives you a random number uniformly distributed between 0.0 and 1.0. So you can do and this will give you a number in the range from 0.0 to 1.0. I could do x equals math.random times 10. That's going to give me something in the range from 0 times 10, which is still 0, to 10.0. right? I could also do something like this where I say x equals int of math.random times 10. And this is going to give us an integer between 0 and 9. Because it's going to be 0 point something up to 9 point something when we do math.random. Multiply that by 10, you still have 0. It could be 0 point something up to 9 point something. And we take the integer of that, we'll get 0 through 9. So I could do, if I want a number from 1 to 6, I could say, whoops, I shouldn't make this x here. Let's say that was int a, because we want an integer there, not a double. I could say a equals int, to get a number from 1 to 6, math.random times 6, which is going to give us a number from 0 to 5, plus 1. That'll give us a number from 0 to 6. What about if I do math.random times 90 plus 10? What would that give me? Well, integer of math.random times 90 is going to give you an integer from 0 to 89 inclusive. It could be any one of those numbers. Add 10 to that, we're going to get something between 10 and 99. So that's math.random. Now, I told you there are a bunch of other methods in the math class that you could encounter. And just for example, a couple of them you can do math.sine, math.cosine, math.tangent. There's math.asine and acos and atan. There's a wide variety of methods in the math. There's floor and ceiling and round. And it's very useful. And you're allowed to use those on your projects, any place you want to in code. But the 5 methods up there, absolute value for integers, absolute value for doubles, POW, square root, and random, are the ones that you may be tested on. So that's your introduction to the math class.